Today, I'm going to be talking all about the largest master plan community in all of Denver. It's known as Highlands Ranch, incredibly popular part of Denver to live. A lot of people choose to live in Highlands Ranch for many different reasons. I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of the reasons I think it's such a special place. Stay tuned. So as I said today, it's going to be all about Highlands Ranch and what makes a large master plan community so special and so ideal for a lot of buyers nowadays. We're going to be talking about a couple of reasons I think it's such a special place to live. But before I do that, don't forget guys, my name is Adam Lang. I'm a licensed realtor here in Denver, Colorado, and I love making videos like this, but what I really enjoy connecting with people like yourselves, hopefully finding a few different ways I can provide you some value. Phone number, email, all that info is down below. We'd love to connect with you, so reach out. And releasing videos like this every week, so hit that like and that subscribe button. But for today, let's go ahead and get started. Highlands Ranch and the largest master plan community in all of Denver. Let's go. All right, guys. So before we get into why I think Highlands Ranch is so great, I just want to talk for a second about what exactly a master plan community is. Sometimes you'll see the acronym MPC, and that just stands again for Master Plan Community. And Highlands Ranch specifically is the largest in all of Denver, and I think is a testament to what, if done correctly, can be created through a lot of planning and just vision when it comes to master plan communities. So I think Highlands Ranch is a great example of this. So when you talk about master plan communities, there's a lot of different characteristics that I think for the most of the time are what master plan community consists of. We're just going to talk about a couple of those really quickly. So, first and foremost, just having this comprehensive planning. So they're really good about meticulously planning ahead of time, where the different types of housing are going to be located, what kind of amenities, what the parks, schools, potentially shopping centers, all that stuff is really done on the front end with that comprehensive planning. Another thing is just to have some diverse housing options. Most master plan communities aren't just all single-family homes. Most of them are going to have a nice, healthy mix of single-family homes, townhomes, potentially apartments, and even some condominiums. So that's something also that's very common in master plan communities. They also have to really be forward-thinking about what kind of amenities and facilities need to be established, both initially when first being built, but also once the entire master plan community is finished, what needs to exist to handle the volume of traffic and also just the amount of people and residents that are living there at that point. Again, this includes things like parks, playgrounds, sports facilities, rec centers, possibly even golf courses, tennis courts, swimming pools, walking trails, fitness centers, all that kind of stuff really needs to be planned out ahead of time. Another thing definitely with master plan communities is just really understanding if there are going to be so many people living within this area, building out some areas for retail and commercial centers, having shopping available within the master plan community, having grocery stores, even things like churches, having all those amenities and those different things available for people within where they're living within that community. Obviously, schools and just educational centers, that goes all the way down from preschool and kindergarten all the way up to even high schools. As I'm going to share more about Highlands Ranch specifically, within Highlands Ranch master plan community, there's 3 public high schools, there's even a private school, there's a ton of educational facilities just within this one master plan community. And then another thing to definitely think about is just the environmental considerations when planning this out ahead of time, really understanding sustainability and just eco-friendly design and making sure that they're planning for different areas that are green spaces and conservation areas and even just energy efficient infrastructure nowadays. So again, all that kind of stuff on the front end when this is all being planned out. And then a couple other ones really quick, community governance. So really understanding that they're going to need to have a very robust HOA. In Highlands Ranch, there's several HOAs depending on what part of Highlands Ranch you're living in, that northwest, south, and east. All 4 of those have kind of their own HOAs in addition to their main HOA. So definitely just taking care of those common areas, being able to organize events, having specific standards for what they want the different neighborhoods and communities to look like and what kind of rules and regulations that need to have, all that kind of stuff. And then also just that sense of community. I think this is probably one of the most primary goals of a master plan community is just really fostering that sense of community and neighborly just engagement and interaction with each other. together is obviously achieved through being really good about having community events and clubs and different sources of social life, all within the master plan community. Just different ways to bring people together. That's a really big value to being in a master plan community that a lot of times isn't talked about or realized until somebody actually purchases and starts living within that area. And then last but not least, just talking a little bit about long-term vision. So really understanding that, this development isn't going to happen overnight and it's going to go through different phases of growth, and being able to really adapt to potentially what the demands are going to be in, let's just say, 3 to 5 years compared to what the demands are for now. Buyer behavior changes, what type of homes people are interested in. Right now, maybe people are looking for larger homes, but maybe in a few years, if the cost of living continues to go up and with inflation and all this other stuff, smaller homes that are more affordable to maintain might become more popular. Building out this vision ahead of time to be able to adapt depending on where the buyer demand exists at that time. So again, guys, just a few of the reasons why HOAs, but also master plan communities exist and why they are so beneficial to be very forward thinking and very intentional on the front end of being developed. All right, Highlands Ranch, awesome place to live. I'm a little bit biased. I have a lot of family and friends that live in this area, and for good reason. It is an incredible place. But today, I'm going to share with you guys again 2 things about it that for me are the biggest reasons why this is such a special place to live. So number one, we're going to talk about how they have neighborhoods within the neighborhood. And that's just kind of a term that I'm using just to describe how within Highlands Ranch, you have so many different parts of the master plan community. So with Highlands Ranch specifically, you basically have, for easy reference, north, south, west, and east. And each of these 4 areas have their own, schools, shopping centers, styles of homes. All of this stuff is unique and available in all of these different neighborhoods within the bigger neighborhood, which is Highlands Ranch. I think that is just a really cool part of master plan communities, is how you really do have this unique ability to almost be in your own world, your own bubble. Once you get into Highlands Ranch, if you don't live there, it's not very likely that you're really going to see, other people coming and going through there. There's not a lot of thoroughfares and bringing people, throughout Highlands Ranch, unless you're there for a purpose, there for a reason, which most likely is going to be because you live there. There are quite a few retail and commercial centers within Highlands Ranch, but most of these are more of the, shopping center for a grocery store, getting your nails done, some bars and restaurants. But as far as like bigger companies, more of a larger workforce demand, those people are most likely still commuting out of Highlands Ranch to go to downtown Denver, or maybe closer to the Denver Tech Center. If you work in the Denver Tech Center, Highlands Ranch is a great place to live because you have a nice, easy access to that part to Denver without having to fight traffic like you would if you're out on the west or up in the northern part of Denver. So within the entire Highlands Ranch master plan community, there's over 26 parks all throughout the area scattered around. This includes, fields for sporting events, as well as just open spaces with trails, all that kind of stuff. Over 26 though throughout the entire area. So awesome amount of outdoor activities out your back door. There's also over 2,000 acres of open space and land. So despite having so many homes in Highlands Ranch, you also have a lot of open space. And again, that's part of this master planning going on before it was built. Having that vision and being intentional about where they're placing the homes and where they're placing the open space. What I love about all 4 of these neighborhoods within Highlands Ranch is they were very intentional about where the homes were built. A good percentage, I wouldn't say the word majority, but a very large percentage of the homes, because of this, back up to the open space. It could just be a smaller portion where, you could still hit your neighbor on the other side of the open space by a long throw of a football, or, it's not that far away. As with other areas within Highlands Ranch, much more significant open space where you might not even be able to see the home on the other side of the open space from where you're at. Just making the point that there is a ton of native grass, open space to really give you that feel of, not feeling super congested and tight like you do in some of the other master plan communities around the state. So definitely something to keep in mind. And as I mentioned, there are a lot of shopping centers and just retail centers within Highlands Ranch, with the exception of needing to go to something very specific. A lot of the time, you'll be able to stay within Highlands Ranch to get your groceries, to do just more of your day-to-day errands. And that's great. You don't have to get out into, the busier highways. You don't have to worry about traffic as much and getting stuck in rush hour, and just a level of safety. You're within a community where you really don't have to be nearly as concerned as you would if you're living in other parts of Denver. I'll use my prior home as an example, where I used to live over in Sloan's Lake, which is really close to downtown Denver. Great area. I loved it over there. However, just a couple blocks away and you're in some pretty rough neighborhoods, rough part of town. With Highlands Ranch, especially if you're a family or or you just are somebody that very highly has safety and just some of that stuff in high regards, what's great is you just don't have to worry about a lot of that. You know, you don't have necessarily a lot of crime compared to other parts of the city, and it's just a great place because of that bubble that you're in. One last thing about just these neighborhoods within a neighborhood, as I mentioned, they all have different schools that you can attend, but they also have great rec centers. Highlands Ranch is really highly regarded for the quality of their amenities, specifically rec centers where they have lazy rivers and climbing walls, even some archery and other activities that you can do. What makes it so great is that all of these different rec centers and different amenities also vary from one to the next. You might live in the southern part of Highlands Ranch, but you love going to the western part of Highlands Ranch's rec center. Maybe they have a little bit nicer lazy river, or for the summertime, it's a better outdoor pool setting. So you have the ability to not just be confined to the part of the master plan community that you're in, but really you could just utilize and enjoy all of Highlands Ranch as long as you're a resident within the community. I think that's a really cool thing that not that many people know about until they move to Highlands Ranch. So now, before we get on to my second reason why I love Highlands Ranch, I'm going to go into a Google Map video and just show you a few more things. Let's go. All right, you guys, so jumping into a Google Map view for a few moments here, talking about the benefit of a master plan community, specifically Highlands Ranch, and my comment on this first point, the neighborhoods within the neighborhood. And that term isn't necessarily used officially when it comes to master plan communities, just something that I've kind of coined just to talk about how within Highlands Ranch, you have a lot of different options. You have these different dedicated areas with their own rec centers and parks and all these great things. So before I zoom in though, from a little bit further out perspective, as you can see, Highlands Ranch is about a 20 to 30 minute drive south of downtown Denver, depending on where you're coming from. And as you can see here, we have I-25, which is our main north-south thoroughfare, as well as C-470. And C-470 is a little unique because it's an east-west road, but as you can see right here, it starts to go more north-south. I've done a few other videos on some of my other favorite parts of Denver: Morrison, Kim Carroll, Golden. All of these are accessed and easily reached through this C-470 road here. So 470 is a road you're going to use a lot once you move to Denver, or if you already live here, you I'm sure know about it because it's one of the great ways to get over to the western side of town and basically avoid the congestion of the city. Highlands Ranch has a nice location because you have very easy accessibility to get over into the mountain range through C-470. As you can see, Chatfield State Park is just west of Highlands Ranch. This is a great place to go if you have a speedboat, if you want to go water skiing or wake surfing. It's also got some really nice hiking trails and some beach areas within the park. So a lot of people go there, they don't have a boat at all. They just want to hang out on the beach or maybe bring some paddle boards or kayaks and just enjoy getting into the water that way. You notice on the west you have Chatfield. A little bit northeast you have Cherry Creek, which is probably the other main water ski lake that allows water skiing. It's actually not a lake, it's a reservoir. It's man-made, but those would be the two, and when it comes to really just getting your water fix if you're living on the southern part of Denver. Zooming in a little bit more, I'll show you guys now specifically my comment about the neighborhoods within the neighborhood. There's four: North Ridge, West Ridge, South Ridge, and you guessed it, East Ridge. East Ridge is a little bit lesser used terminologies. You actually don't see East Ridge on the map here as you do with the other three, but as you can see, they all have these green areas, which are parks. This is a golf club, lot of just parks and just outdoor resources within the Highlands Ranch HOA and within the master plan community. As you can see too, this is a very large area. Highlands Ranch, it is, the largest in the state when it comes to master plan communities, but they really had their work cut out for them when they created this vision of building this, again, back in the 80s and 90s, and now where it's at today, where it's pretty much completely developed and really in a place now where all the landscaping and trees are mature, and there's a lot of just very established businesses and different retail centers within Highlands Ranch. Everything is really firing on all cylinders, so it's a great time to consider living in Highlands Ranch. I talked a little bit about just the school districts. So Douglas County is definitely one of the best school districts in Denver, in the entire state for that matter. Part of that does have to do just with it being a more affluent part of the city, and within the public system you have a couple schools. Thunder Ridge would be the main one that I'm familiar with. We had a cross-country race every year in high school and ran at Thunder Ridge, so I'm very familiar with Thunder Ridge. But if you're also in Highlands Ranch, another option is over here, which is Rock Canyon High School. Those would be the two main. In addition, there's also Mountain Vista High School. So those are the public schools, which are all fairly highly regarded. However, one of the top schools in the entire state, I'd even say it probably ranks up there in the nation, especially when it comes to athletics, 6 is going to be Valor. And Valor is just a powerhouse when it comes to, sports, football, basketball, pretty much everything, but predominantly football. In fact, there's several famous NFL players that came out of Valor, one of which being one of my favorites of all time, which is currently running back in the NFL, Christian McCaffrey. So the McCaffreys are a family in Colorado that all started with their father, Ed McCaffrey, who was a star wide receiver for the Denver Broncos back in the day. Talking again, though, about just the neighborhoods within the neighborhood. They each have their own little school areas. They each have their own rec centers. They have their own parks available. However, all of this is available for everybody in the Highlands Ranch area. So if you live in the south portion and you want to go up to the Northridge Park and the Northridge Rec Center, all of those amenities up there are still available to you regardless of what part of Highlands Ranch you live. I think that's a really cool concept that they've implemented here in Highlands Ranch. I will also just say that one of the really cool amenities, and I say amenity, really it's more of just a staple or a monument, a landmark within Highlands Ranch, is the Highlands Ranch Mansion. Highlands Ranch Mansion is a very, very regal, palatial castle right in the middle of Highlands Ranch that can be reserved for private parties, weddings. One of my cousins that lives in Highlands Ranch actually had her wedding reception here last summer. It is a incredible place just to, again, have a very special event. Just to show you a few pictures and give you a perspective of this is the Highlands Ranch Mansion. Beautiful, 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 old, historic. I know some of these aren't maybe necessarily the best pictures, but just gives you at least a little bit of an idea of just this really unique place to have your wedding or different private events. So Highlands Ranch Mansion, definitely check that out. And then back to just the rec centers, they all four, again, neighborhoods have their own. They're all very nice. They've got, stuff like lazy rivers. You can notice over on the left here, they have water slides, climbing walls, really everything you can ask for. They really do it up when it comes to the quality of what they're providing you with your HOA dues that you pay as a Highlands Ranch resident. Going back to the map for one more second, just showing you the location of, where it's located. It's close to the foothills. Roxborough State Park down here is where you'll see a lot of the Red Rock formations. Up here in Morrison is where Red Rock's amphitheater is, my favorite place to see a live show. But the reason I bring that up is this is where the foothills start. This is where you're going to start to see the beginning of the Rocky Mountains. Highlands Ranch is, fairly close to that, which provides incredible views. I think Highlands Ranch has one of the best views of the mountains of any neighborhood, any part of Denver. I know I don't have the best picture here. I wish I had some that I had taken myself at some point to share with you, but just to give you some quick perspective, this would be an example of Highlands Ranch looking out at the mountains. You've got obviously the full moon. You've got some snow-capped peaks in the background. You can even see as far over sometimes as not all the way to Boulder, but some of the Flatiron Mountains on that far northwestern portion of Denver going up into Boulder. But just really, really cool views, a much different perspective of the mountains than you get in a lot of the other neighborhoods in Denver, such as, downtown, anywhere on the west like Sloan's Lake or Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Applewood, and even going up north into like Thornton and Northglenn. Over in Castle Rock, over in Highlands Ranch, you're just a little bit further away. Not necessarily, you are further away, but it's just a different angle that you have, which really creates a beautiful view of the mountains. So just wanted to share that little personal reason why I think it's such a beautiful part of the state, of the city. But now we're going to go back and I'm going to talk to you guys about my second point, which is going to be just why, again, this location is so special. So let's go back. All right, so we talked about that neighborhood within a neighborhood concept. The second reason why I love Highlands Ranch is just the location. When I talk about location, I'm talking about a few different characteristics. First off, I'm talking about the views that you get. Highlands Ranch is, for a lot of the section of Highlands Ranch within the master plan community, is perched on a little bit of a hill where you have a phenomenal view of the front range as far as going towards the mountains. Really unique perspective of the Rocky Mountains in the far distance, as well as just seeing the hills in the beginning to the mountains, the front range mountains. What I love about Highlands Ranch specifically, though, is just some of the main roads that you're taking on a daily basis to get in and out of the community. C470 would be one that I'm specifically referring to. If you're leaving Highlands Ranch, you just have this awesome view on C470 when you're heading west. That's just gorgeous. It's one of my favorite views in all of Denver when it comes to being still in a urban environment, but just still appreciating and loving the mountains that are right out the back door. That part of location, the view, is important to me, as I imagine it is for you as well. But also talking about location, it's in the southern part of Denver. It's about a 20 to 30 minute drive south of downtown, but it's got a great location if you're somebody that maybe is looking to enjoy some of the other stuff that's around you in Highlands Ranch. What do I mean by that is further down south, you've got Castle Rock, Monument, even Colorado Springs. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second in a map video. But also you just have the ability to have a much less congested thoroughfare when it comes to getting to work. If you work in downtown or even in the Denver Tech Center, there are times of the day where it can be pretty busy, a lot of traffic, and that will happen if you're living in Highlands Ranch. However, you do have a few other options when it comes to, again, C470 and also hitting up I-25 North to get up to those areas. And you can be strategic about it and have a very quick and easy commute to certain parts of town. So this is a very developed, very just mature part of Denver since it's been built over 30 years ago. And because of that, you just have a ton of options, really stable, successful shopping centers. So you have a lot of really good restaurants and good just different retail centers with a lot of good stores to choose from. And I think this is, again, because it is such a established part of Denver, you're going to really enjoy kind of the best of the best. Some of the best malls, you've got Park Meadows nearby, some of the best just restaurants and other types of smaller retail shopping centers. It's just a great place being close to a lot of the Denver amenities. You're still close enough to the Broncos Stadium, to the zoo, to all these, main things that Denver offers. However, it's such a great location because you are a little bit detached from that, where you don't have quite as much congestion as you would if you're living closer to Denver, like in Washington Park, Sloan's Lake, all those neighborhoods that are right up next to downtown Denver. Because you're in an area that has more land, the homes are going to be larger, the lot sizes are going to be a bit bigger. You're going to have a little bit more opportunity to breathe, just to have a little bit more space around you. And that part of the location is very, very important to me. And I think that's one of the reasons why Highlands Ranch specifically is so popular. Now let's go into that map video. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on some of this stuff. Let's go. All right, you guys. So now I'm going to be talking for just a couple quick minutes back in Google Maps here about my second point, which is just the location of Highlands Ranch, which makes it so special. In my first portion of the video, when I did a map view earlier, I already talked about some of the benefits when I talked about just some of the lakes that are nearby, just the accessibility to the mountains off to the west. But what I wanted to share now is a little bit more of a perspective when it comes to real estate. If you notice, I'm going over here to Zillow. This is just currently as of today. These are the active listings within Highlands Ranch currently. This is any price point just for sale in Highlands Ranch. As you can see here, you have a lot of options when it comes to, selection of homes in Highlands Ranch. And I look at that as both a blessing, but also sometimes a curse if it's time for you to sell. The reason I say that is because of the concept of comps. So a comp is a competitive property that is similar to your own. So when you're going to sell your home, you're going to base the asking price of what you're going to set the price at based off of what the comps are around you. Because there are so many comps within Highlands Ranch, and the homes for the most part are fairly similar, you're going to have a lot of comps that are going to sometimes pull your price point that you want to get potentially down a bit. And I bring that up because one concept that's really important when you buy a home, if you have some areas of the home that could be updated, or maybe you have a portion of the home that's unfinished, like an unfinished basement, those are great opportunities to add value. Adding value to a home is one of the best ways to have what we call forced appreciation, meaning it's appreciating due to you forcing it to by putting in your own time and labor and money into improving the property. You have to be very careful when you're in a neighborhood like Highlands Ranch because of so many comps. If you overbuild or you over renovate, making the price point of the improvements you've made at a price point higher than what's typical in the area, you're going to run into an issue where some people aren't necessarily going to see the value in that, and looking at the comps, it's going to pull yours down where you might not get your money back out of some of the investment you've made into your home, again, if you go too above and beyond what's typical for the area. So you can see there's price points in Highlands Ranch that range from about $600 all the way up to about $1.2 million. There are a lot of factors. A lot of this comes down to just the location. So a lot of Highlands Ranch was being a master plan community purposefully built where a lot of the homes are on open space. Open space could be something like just a park between you and the neighbor in your backyard on the other side of the park, or it could be some of these lot larger open spaces where you truly do have, a solid, maybe a eighth or quarter of a mile in between you and the neighbor on the other side of the open space from you. So when you have that larger open space, that's going to lead to nicer views and most likely a little bit higher price point of home. But I wanted just to show you here, just to give you some perspective on a couple of these homes. If we go to a higher end home, like over here on the west side, we have West Ridge, 2.2 million here. If we look at a nicer home like this, you'll see it's, bigger backyard. Again, it's got that open space, nice views of the mountains. So this would be an example of one of the higher end homes at Highlands Ranch. And I would say that, at 2.2 million, they might have a bit of a hard time selling this house because of it being at that high end of the kind of the range of homes. It's only been on the market for 3 days, so it's hard for me to know for sure if this will sit for a while or if it'll still move quickly. We're in a little bit more challenging of a climate at the moment when it comes to higher end homes and the level of demand that's out there. But I'll also show you something that's a little bit more typical of Highlands Ranch, which would be, something more in this maybe 8 to 900,000. So for example, this 875 home, still very, very beautiful. Most of these homes have 3-car garages. However, quite a few that also are only 2 cars. So when I've helped clients in the past in Highlands Ranch, that's been one of the biggest non-negotiables when looking for homes for them. I got to have a 3-car garage. If that's the case, you're already limiting, the pool of homes by maybe, a third or a half. So it's important just to really figure out, if it comes down to being seriously considering an area to live in, find out what those 2 or maybe 3 non-negotiables are for you and your family, whoever's going to be living in the home, and share that, whether it be with me as a realtor or anybody that you use. That's really important to have those non-negotiables. That's really going to help the agent, like myself, filter down the inventory and be able to provide much more higher, more realistic homes that are going to fit the needs. So this, though, again, would be an example of, in my opinion, just at first glance, a great value. 875, 7-bed, 4-bath. Not a huge square footage, so probably some smaller bedrooms, or maybe some of these are, maybe an office that they're just considering a bedroom because it has a closet, something like that. But looking at a couple of these pictures, this is a pretty typical home. A lot of the homes are fairly cookie cutter, so you are going to see a lot of homes next to one another that have a similar look to them. But when it comes to the inside, you'll see quite the range there. As an example, this looks like they've updated it to make it a little bit more of that modern feel with the granite, stainless appliances, lighter colors when it comes to the cabinetry and the paint and the lighter wood on the flooring. But just again, this is a good example of a typical home in Highlands Ranch. Before I close out this map video on the location, the only other thing I wanted to share one more time is just how beneficial being on the southern part of Denver in Highlands Ranch is if you're an outdoorsy person and you potentially want to go down to Castle Rock, Castle Pines, even go down as far as Larkspur Monument, or even down to Colorado Springs. You have a lot of really beautiful, lesser trafficked, lesser known areas within Denver down south of you. My personal opinion, my prediction over the next 10 to 15 years, Colorado Springs and Denver, and my opinion again, I think are eventually going to be almost one and the same. And they're already getting close to that point where you really do have just a consistent level of growth and development from Denver all the way down to Colorado Springs. In the past, this was quite a difference between the two, and you'd go through sections on I-25 where you wouldn't see many homes at all. As the years go on and more people choose to move here to Denver, this is becoming a lot more popular, a lot more developed, and I think at some point we're going to see, Colorado Springs really blowing up. They've already been in the top 10 places to live on some certain different surveys and different lists for quite a while, and I think they're going to continue to be, because it is a great quality of life with the outdoors, along with some really good job opportunities and the proximity to the mountains and also Denver. Just want to share that with you guys too. When it comes to location, Highlands Ranch is ideally located on that southern side of Denver. So if you are somebody that wants to get to the southwest into the mountains here, or if you just want to have that ability to, get down into some of these areas that haven't been quite as developed, you're going to be able to do that much easier by living in Highlands Ranch or really anywhere on the southern side of Denver. That's all I got for you today. Let's go back to the rest of the video. Thanks. All right, there you have it. Highlands Ranch, largest master plan community in all of Denver. What a cool part of town. Hopefully you guys got some value out of some of the things I shared with you today. But more than anything else, if you have never been to a large master plan community like Highlands Ranch, definitely check it out. Give me a call, phone number, email, shoot me a text, send me an email, whatever's most convenient. We'd love to connect and just share a little bit more about Highlands Ranch, as well as just learn about what might be interesting you and hopefully provide some value in one way or another. So before we get out of here, don't forget also hit that like and then subscribe. releasing new videos like this every week and would love for you to be one of the first to find out and be able to see it for yourselves. Look forward to connecting with you guys next week. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you then. Bye.